Welcome to the Lazaro Lab. I'm Matt Lazaro, and I have a new host / co-host to replace Ryan.
No.
Not replacing Ryan. A new participant, first time, Matt's wife.
Stacia.
Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Matt's wife, Stacia.
I have my lovely wife joining us now on the podcast to add a little more of the feminine side, to have more of a female perspective and just smarter people on here. So, it's true. I wanted smart kids. So, so welcome.
Hi.
We have a lot of things to talk about.
We do.
But this isn't therapy, so we're not going to get into that. So, anyways.
Oh boy, that's another podcast.
No, we're not airing that one.
That's the one they all want, though.
No. Okay, so long-time listener. Now, now she's here to tell us all the facts and of the matters of things.
The 16 years I've been listening to you.
Has it been that long?
You said long-time listener.
I know, long-time listener, literally, yeah. Been listening to my bullshit forever. So we're going to dive into a few things, I would say. But first and foremost, like I said, we wanted to change things up, dive into different topics, give you guys a different perspective since more than half of the listeners are women. It's probably good to hear from another woman. So let's get into it.
80% of? What is your statistics?
Well, the podcast, I think it's a little more than half.
Oh.
Client-wise, it's like 80%.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Women tend to care about their health more than men. The men care about it when it's almost too late. That's just kind of generally how it goes, unfortunately. Or if they're getting a divorce, then they really care about it, but that's a whole other thing. So that's another podcast, right?
Yeah, it is.
So, let's start with a few things. You've been pursuing your health and fitness goals for a while. Mm-hmm. What would you say are some of the things that you've learned along the ways from good teacher? But
from you?
What are the things you've experienced?
What have I picked up? Like, what do you want to know first?
I want to know it all. No,
Okay.
Let's simplify things, right? Like in most cases, I think women tend to care about their overall health more often. In particular, let's just call it what it is. More women are concerned with weight loss and stuff. And, what are some of the things that you've learned over the years in terms of like managing weight and your experiences with being not only a woman, but a wife, a mom, and all those things, and how they kind of come together?
Well, my fitness journey began a long time ago, so I've always been kind of like the skinny girl forever. So my weight loss journey isn't a huge one, but I would say that if anyone ever, I made this joke to you, if anyone ever wished the skinny girl would get fat at one point in their life, that did happen to me last year. So I kind of went through a journey of very substantial weight loss for my first time, where I would say like, holy crap, that was like a lot of fat on me, more than I ever experienced before, body fat.
Yeah.
And I even said at one point, I was like, I feel like I'm in a fat suit. I couldn't deal with it. And so, but the thing I've always struggled with was gaining weight. So to be on one side, then go on the other side was kind of like a huge reality for me, and really put all the knowledge and things that I've always told people before on their own journeys that they should, maybe try this, and actually really having to do that like consistently, diligently, every single day for the last year.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, obviously it was a little different. You were pregnant, so that's
yes, but that is also
still weight gain,
what a lot of women go through.
Absolutely.
Like, after I've had 3 kids, so
yeah.
I've gone through those roller coasters too, but
Yeah.
each time has been different.
Well,
Every time
it's
it's been
not
different.
I would say it's probably not always centralized around weight, anyways. Like
No.
from a health standpoint, like you feel best when what, right? Like when what's going on, what's put together, I guess you could say.
Oh, when I'm making sure I'm eating what I need to eat every day. So my number one goal when I hit my macros every day, meaning I get an adequate amount of protein and my fats, and I'm feeling good and I have energy, and I make sure that I train. I feel at my best when I'm doing those two things consistently and diligently every day.
Yeah.
But I'm not perfect at it.
Well, no. Well,
But that's when I feel best.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. Like from a being perfect standpoint, I don't think we can define what that is, anyways. Because,
No,
right? Like we
because
come up
that
with
wouldn't
an
be
arbitrary.
living. That wouldn't be human.
Not only that, but we come up with an arbitrary concept of what right and wrong is in terms of eating right and things like that. But then we can narrow it down based on things that are not related to the scale,
Right.
or related to the just exclusively the physical or the physique element of things. It can be more related to how you feel, right?
And how well I sleep, and
Yeah,
how well I feel like mentally that day, even emotionally, because I know that even your nutrition affects a lot of that, and I've seen it enough times. I've done enough.
I've seen it too.
I've seen it. I've done it enough times to myself to know what's up and like what.
Well, you would say it affects your mood.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It does.
But also the kids
It
too,
affects the kids' mood.
and our kids.
Yeah.
I first noticed it really when Maxwell was like less than a year old, when he was 9 months old.
He was crazy.
He was berserk.
Is that when we?
That's when I went strict paleo.
Oh, yeah. So partially, that's also how I figured out I probably shouldn't be eating the glutens. Not that everyone should be.
And a lot of dairy and even some, other, even gluten-free stuff we've learned has been like, like almond anything isn't my best friend. It's still carbs. So it's like learning how to balance all those things, but also fully understanding like sourcing and what those foods do to your body specifically.
Yeah. Well, more or less, like I feel like a lot of people get bamboozled by the marketing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's like, if you feel like you should be gluten-free, you automatically will think that all the things labeled gluten-free are quote unquote healthy.
Yeah. Oh
which
yeah.
is not true, And it's not that it's worse or not healthy. It always comes down to like, what do we?
Well, 14 years ago, we were kind of in this place where you had to like do all that on your own. Because I remember Rayleigh's had this really small aisle of things and it wasn't very much.
Yeah.
And so, but now it's everywhere. But now you really like going back to checking your ingredient list. Like it still has to be that way, even with, gluten-free items too, because what are they using in placement of that?
Yeah.
And so not everything is your friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right, and it's just that figuring out what works for you.
Yeah, just like Thanksgiving, everything was gluten-free here, but we still were like, oh, I'm not going to eat any more of that because it makes you so bloated. Or
well, if you eat enough mashed potatoes, it's just gonna
make
you feel
cranberry
full.
sauce.
It's very true, very true.
It's all good though.
But yeah, I always tell people you're the ideal person that likes to eat normal portions of foods. Whereas, like, we can both have chips, but I have the whole bag of chips.
Yeah, but this is also why I am allowed to say I don't ever tell myself I can't have anything.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good for the most part about portion control. Unless it's candy or something like that. Then,
but even then,
it's
still good.
I'm pretty decent with it. But it's just because I don't limit myself.
Yeah.
And it's that like mental part of it where if you say you can't, then you want it more. And so it's not. I've always kind of stood by that.
What would you say as a piece of advice to other moms that are, let's say, just struggling in general to feel better?
Oh, to find the one thing you can control. And you feel like that, I would say, yeah, that you can control. So what is something that you control? What you put in your mouth every day to begin with. The things you tell yourself, are you telling yourself self-defeating things?
Self-talk.
Self-talk, yes.
Yeah.
But I came up with things that I have given myself in this last year, non-negotiables, and my non-negotiables change over time. So when there's certain stages that you go through in life or periods where you might be on your and you might be not. You might have a day where you're just like, this is a crummy day. And so I had to set things up in place where if I was really depressed this day or really happy this day, either day I was doing a non-negotiable. And so that always kept me moving forward every day. So I found things that I can control. And so what are things like brushing your teeth, getting out of bed? Sometimes those are the small victories. Like if you're having a hard day, getting those done and making your bed or just getting dressed, even if your hair is in a bun. Some days it's those. Other days it's like, dang, I already did all those things. I'm going to make sure I get a workout in today, and I'm going to make sure I do stretching today. I'm going to make sure I have all my food planned ahead, or I'm absolutely not going through any drive-through today. So those are the non-negotiables I give myself, and those I move that little goalpost a little bit each time. So I'm always but I also celebrate the victories. So and the small wins. So I think that's a big thing, and that's where I would start.
Yeah. Non-negotiables, I'd say, are, I like to say they're our way of practicing implementing discipline, right? Like, we talk about discipline, but it's kind of useless unless you can have specific things to be disciplined about.
And so with what happened for me this past year, I knew that to save my own life, I knew I had to do these things. And then there's no other way I can put it, but I knew that if I didn't, I was going to die. So it was like, how uncomfortable do you want to be? Do you want to stay over here in this really low state, or do you want to move into like over here? And so those are like the little steps that you have to take, and you have to like know that you're worth it.
Yeah, because it's going to be difficult either way.
Either way, it's going to be difficult. But I think this way is less suck. And something that I know that I need to speak to is that losing our daughter, if I wasn't even in the health that I was up until that point, we both could have died. And so that's like something I'm always mindful of, is that I was able to, because of my health, it could have been worse. And because of my health, it wasn't worse than it was. But I know that because I have to move forward, my health is the only number one thing that I can control, that I seen and work for me. Like I actually experienced that work for me.
Yeah.
And in my favor as far as my own life being saved.
I know.
Not once, but twice.
Yeah, no, I know. Just rehabbing yourself after everything, we just got to walking, getting out of bed.
Oh, it's the small things, like literally walking.
Yeah, that's all you could do.
There were things like I did knees over toes, little stuff like that, like things that I knew from before, holding a plank. Even, I felt like such a beginner. I literally was crawling out of bed, literally.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and now I'm going to do a Spartan next weekend.
In a year, right?
A year. It'll be almost a year that I put myself on the bike. Actually, I started on the bike.
Yeah.
And then I started walking. Just like 2 loops around our neighborhood. And then every day I would try to add one.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a pretty substantial
I did it in
change.
the rain too.
Yes, she did. I was walking with her in the rain a couple times.
And Hachi,
And
the dog.
yeah, good old reliable Hachi. If you want to go on a walk with a dog, we can lend you Hachi.
Yeah, he's a husky.
Yeah, he just obsesses over walking.
He does.
But yeah, no, I mean, so you know, there's
That was a lot, huh?
a lot to unpack there. I didn't think we were diving into any of that stuff today, but you know, we're
Well,
there
they're part
now.
of it's part of the story.
It is, yeah. No, you're right. It's always part of the story. It's okay. Where was I? Kind of lost my train of thought.
You said, "Where should we start?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Controlling this."
Oh, yeah.
So I
yeah,
knew
yeah,
that my health can control. That's the one thing that I can know. Like,
Yeah, so coming up with the non-negotiables, and that's it's. I think it still comes back to, you know, having a reason that's rooted in, you know, unfortunately, I feel like we have to kind of take a step back. When we make decisions, it's rooted in either two things. It's motivated by seeking pleasure, or moving away from pain. That's primarily all the decisions that you're making. Even if you think you're not making a decision, you are making a decision based on those things. It's just how the human brain works. But
That's
with
true.
that said, we're not as driven by seeking pleasure as we think we are. So the more pain there is, the easier it is to actually make the right decision, unfortunately. And then this is even from
this is true.
my observation with working with thousands of clients, and then witnessing it for, you know, seeing you, and even how I'm motivated. Moving away towards pain is a more effective tool for most people. But the interesting thing is that if you can couple it with moving towards something that makes you feel good, it does reinforce things from a positive standpoint. It does make success rates significantly higher. So this is where I feel like most goals become really tricky. Is because some people are just in so much pain, they don't have a way of differentiating, you know, the specifics of what they want to pursue. So it just all gets muddied up into just feeling better in general, which I think it's a good motivator, but it's not good enough, which is,
Well, because their focus is,
it's all over the place. Yeah.
and a huge part of life is just that, though. Like, you know, obviously we all are torn into different directions all the time, and then spinning all these hats constantly.
Yep.
And so that's where you have to, like you're saying, the pain of something oftentimes is a motivator. But like, if you're going to go into something, you have to have like a specific focus on one, and then I think tackle them. So, yeah, like, I mean, if you feel like you're not a great mom, work on being a better mom. If you feel like you're not a great wife, you know, there's so many things that we have to constantly always be working at, that I think that prioritizing your health and even your mental health is the great alley or avenue to take to all those other things.
But you're a good example because your goals were very specific, because getting out of bed and walking was troublesome. So the goal was to get out of bed and be able to move to whatever
Movement is
capacity
medicine.
there was.
Period.
Then it went to go on the bike for what was tolerable. Then it went to, I need to be able to walk. And then it went from walking for this distance to I need to walk for a greater distance, to I need to be able to lift weights, to I need to be able to do. So it
Mobility,
progressed.
all kinds of things.
It progressed with very specific intent, with very specific end goals, right? And so that's fundamentally a great example, I would say,
And there's a lot of like humility in that, because I had like a decent foundation to begin with when I got pregnant with Aspen, and you know, bouncing back with both of the kids, the two before her. But this time I had a emergency C-section, so that was a whole different recovery, something I've never experienced in my life, and I would never. I think that is such a traumatic thing to the body, and having experienced that, I think I told you I would have one child naturally every week, than ever go through that again, because the pain was, oh my gosh, enough to kill a man.
Probably.
And so the recovery from that wasn't simple, but I was like adamant. Like, I knew immediately I had to get off all the medication. I did that less than a week. I mean, I like all of them. I was like, even ibuprofen. I was like, these are no's for me.
I mean, they loaded you up with Oxycontins too.
I had everything. Yeah. And it's just like the way that it makes you feel is just like, I felt like it was setting me back. And I'd already went through such a traumatic thing that I didn't want to develop
another problem.
Yeah. And that was already...
It essentially becomes another thing to battle with.
Yeah, and they didn't want to just hand them to you. And I was like, I'm not taking them.
Yeah. I mean, you did.
I think I used 2 lidocaine patches.
Oh, yeah.
Out of the 100 they gave me.
I've been wanting to try one, but I just don't have an interest.
Anybody need a lidocaine patch? You got some.
You got a lot. Maybe I'll try one today. I always just wanted to put one on and see what happens.
Oh, crazy. But wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, would you? So, I mean, from a perspective as being a woman, a mom, a wife, and all those things, like, what do you find that's, I'd say, common that many other women struggle with, especially when it comes to like, because here, let me expand a little more, because when people say they want to lose weight, I'm not convinced it's only weight. The weight is a byproduct of a lot of things, right? And I'm not saying like, yeah, clearly people gain weight because they're eating too much, but that's not the actual problem. The problem is more complicated at its core, always. Right? In terms of like what led up to those decisions over years and years and years or decades that got them to the place that they finally became so uncomfortable they needed to do something about it. Like, so what would you say are common, or things that you find that are common at least?
That women shared that either what they, like a goal they want?
No, that they're going through. Like, what are the things that you see that are common?
The common thing that is always balance is always balance. I can't seem to have enough time with these things. And so I always come back to, you have to actually make a pros and cons list. You have to look at them at like certain ways, like how important is it that you nutritionally eat every day? How important is it that you clean your house thoroughly every day? There's all these things that are, how much laundry do you plan on getting done a day? Like, there's all these like 5 million things that women think about, or moms and wives think about. No, he literally doesn't. Like, oh man, that's another podcast. But the things that we like do, it's like, what's that saying they used to say that men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti, like our stuff gets all over the place, and it literally gets all over the place because our brains are always going,
we fit our syrup into each little category.
Yeah, you do. And so what I've had to learn though is kind of to learn to do that, and so rough my edges around a little bit, and I've had to learn to let some things go, and that means, how important is that all the laundry gets done in one day? It's not that important. Try to do a load a day. Or, I am super dramatic, and I took my kid out of school, and so he doesn't do any public school activities. He's homeschooled now. That was a huge burden of time lifted, believe it or not. And I love having him home. I know that I hear a lot of moms struggle with their kids doing all these extracurricular activities all the time, and they're so out of balance because they have to go run this child to this one and pick this one up at that time. And then, I have people coming over to train with me at 6:45 in the morning because that's the only time that they can fit in. And it's just insane to me that no one's going to bed until midnight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're still not going to sleep until 2, and then you're getting up and training, and you're like all over again, and you're like,
yeah. So you're saying that it's common that
they're frazzled.
Many women are not leaving time to prioritize themselves.
Absolutely not. If in fact, I think they do it last. And one of my biggest things is that I love to see when women take their control of that back. Like in the last week, I've seen a couple friends just go back to Orange Theory and start losing weight. I've seen a couple people just start lifting. Well, Karima is one of them. She just didn't lift at all her whole life. And then she started lifting a year and a half, 2 years ago. And now she loves it. And so I think those are my favorite moments, and being part of someone's life where you see them go, oh, that has now become a non-negotiable for them. And that's what I'm talking about, where you build to that.
Yeah. Why do you think it is that, I don't think it's exclusive to women, but I think it's more common that women do that, where they intentionally do everything that favors and takes care of everybody else except them.
Because we're nurturers. That's just literally, that's it. Like, we love to take care of, that's just part of our hearts as moms and women, most women. Those ones that like kill their kids, I can't understand them. But
you watch too many documentaries.
I do. Some of them. But I think that we have that essence and that divinity in us that's just built that way.
Yeah.
And we can't do anything about it other than maybe find a balance. And so like when I say trying to find those balance, I'll ask my friends like how important it is that your child is in volleyball and cheerleading and this and that and this and that.
At the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah.
And and then you have another child that's doing, X, Y, and Z too. And it's like, so how about you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I always find it fascinating how parents will have their children in, they go to school all day and then they have, practice for whatever sport after, and then another event or some type of thing after that. And then they're not winding down, getting their homework done until 10, 11 o'clock. And,
then they have issues in school and we wonder why.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that.
Like I feel like I have a hard time believing that they enjoy that. I don't know.
I have a hard time believing that too, because I know my two kids didn't really float. They didn't really do those things.
Yeah.
Marin is the most social one, and even then, there were times when I was like, you could tell when your kid's like, I'm done with track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I don't like lifting, actually.
Yeah. Speaking of lifting, like, I think it's interesting. It's good, I think, now that women are way more into weightlifting and resistance training in general.
Oh, yeah. Marin started when she was 10, and she has a good foundation of muscle on her that's not going to ever, she knows what to do.
Yeah. But I mean, back in the day, 20 years ago, it was very taboo for women to lift weights.
Oh, yeah. Because I was just saying earlier on my story, like how my mom would be like, does Jane Fonda jazzercise workouts?
Yeah. I mean, the 80s brought in a certain light of, like exercise.
They did.
And aerobics. And,
I remember
then, like, in the 90s, Taibo and things like that came out.
That's right. And what else?
Dancing around in spandex, punching the air, and then... And we're back after a pee break and had to reset the camera. Anyway, so we were talking about Taibo. If you don't know what it is, you're too young to listen to this. Not really, actually. That's not true.
No.
It's kind of crazy to think that people born like Marin in the year 2000 are in their 20s.
Yes.
It's kind of weird.
I know.
I feel old.
We are.
No, I'm not. I can still beat up 20-year-olds if I have to.
Me too.
That's okay. You can tell yourself that.
Actually, I have my bodyguards, you and Maxwell.
Yeah. Let's see. Where were we at? So
Wait, you
yeah,
don't think I could fight?
fitness. We're
Yeah,
not talking
I could
about
fight.
that. Okay. It's okay. You don't need to fight.
I know. And I'm a lover.
You're just pretty, and you just be pretty.
Oh, just be okay.
Just sit there and be
Oh,
pretty.
you just push him off the chair.
You could try. It's okay.
What a brat.
Anyways, but yeah, no, the progressions of fitness and weightlifting. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think it's a great thing that weightlifting is more common amongst everybody now. Just exercise in general, it's interesting because it's just one of those things. Like, I think people do better when they are physically challenging themselves, or at least making sure that they feel like they're taking care of themselves. I mean, one of the things that you have to remember is it's like what you do in your 20s and your 30s and even in your 40s will kind of determine the quality or lack of quality in your life in the last 20, 30 years of your life. I mean, the problem is if you don't have enough muscle, if you don't move well enough, and something catastrophic happens and you need to recover from it, your likelihood of surviving is significantly lower than those that are more capable and movement-wise, muscle-wise, and strength and stuff like that.
And then also, like, if we have an apocalypse and zombies come.
Yeah, we're just all dying if that's the case. It is what it is. You watch too many things. You should see what she watches before we go to bed. It's always about murder and shit. And I'm trying to go to bed. Why are you talking about murdering your husband?
I used to not do that until this last year, so that's just...
I know.
Whatever.
It's funny. Whatever.
Making sense of the chaos.
I have earplugs. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Earplugs, mask.
So, should we talk about sleep now that you're bringing that up?
Yeah.
I mean, unless that's not something.
I mean, your sleep habits have gotten better the longer we've been married, because her sleep habits when we first got together were pretty terrible.
Well, yeah, I freaking worked 2 jobs, went to school full time, and I was a single mom, so
I know,
there was no
I'm just
sleeping.
saying. Yeah. And you were making fun of me for going to bed at like 10.
Yeah.
I was getting tired at 9:30.
Swear,
like a normal person.
I would be getting off work at 10:30.
That's true.
11.
Yeah, I know. Not me. I was going to bed. Gotta have my 8 hours.
Not me. I was just about to turn up.
But we know that sleeping
now
like
I'm in
me,
bed asleep by 10.
sleeping like me is the way to go.
Yes.
Yes.
I figured it out.
And then
No, I sleep great though. Once
Yeah.
I'm asleep, it takes me a minute, but once
Yeah.
I'm there, I'm good.
this is true.
Love
And
sleep.
you sleep even better with our Sleep 8 mattress.
Oh yes, that is the best invention ever.
Yeah. You can have
And
your-
I talked so much trash on that before.
What do you mean?
Well, didn't you have the first version of it? And I called
Oh,
it
it's
your...
something different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No,
okay, then.
they're
But the
different.
other one, when we got that one, I was,
It was
like,
loud.
oh.
Yeah.
The pump was a little louder, but this one is so quiet.
Yeah.
All you hear go, droop, and that's it.
Yeah. If you don't know what it is, look up Sleep 8 mattress.
And invest in yourself.
It is a way that you can have your side, my side, cold, as it
He
should
likes
be.
it if he's sleeping in the Arctic, and I like it sleeping if I live in
In the
Arizona.
desert. Yeah. It's terrible. But but that's the thing. Like, temperature is actually a huge part of whether you go to sleep quickly or not, and how you stay asleep. Temperature regulation, huge. I mean, the funny thing is for you to drop into sleep, I believe your core temperature has to drop a couple degrees. Not a couple degrees. Does that sound
No,
right?
it does that
It's
to
like
me
2
too,
degrees,
'cause
right?
I start lying, I'm warm, and then it drops it as I go to sleep.
Yeah, so literally your core temperature has to decrease to help go into the initial sleep cycle. And then,
REM?
not the initial light REM,
Oh, you
deep,
mean
it
going,
goes in
okay.
cycles, just to
Never
go to
mind.
bed.
Sorry, don't listen to me.
So just to go to sleep, that's kind of how that works. And then the rest is light exposure, sound, obviously, ambient room temperature, so the actual temperature of the room.
How much artificial light from outside is getting in?
TV.
I turn it off.
She does eventually. Yeah. It's funny. Like
Just delays your sleep, not mine.
I think I still go to bed. I think I think there's more evidence that shows that your phone is more of an issue rather than the television, unless you're sitting like really close up to it. I mean, if the television's like 10 feet away from your eyes, I think it's more or less not as much of an issue.
I read that you literally should get off your phone by 9 or 10 every night, and no matter what, absolutely do not touch it till 4 a.m, at least, because of the way that most people's circadian rhythm works.
Yeah, so when you get exposed to a certain amount of blue light,
as soon as like even looking at it to check the time.
Yeah, try not
to. Did you notice
to.
that on my setting it has that red light now? So that was pretty cool that they did. So
we have those settings on our watch.
Right, but I think that's cool that it's like on that like that now.
Yeah.
So you can check the time without it going like that in your face.
Yeah, those things are kind of automatic with a lot of our electronics now.
Well, it took them long enough.
No, I know.
Now everybody's on sleep medication, can't sleep, take it all. I don't know.
Yeah, I think most people self-medicate more than they think, especially with alcohol.
Or even marijuana.
Yeah, both actually. Men and women.
Even melatonin. It doesn't work. Nope.
It does.
They've always built a tolerance at some point.
Well, yeah. But you shouldn't use it forever.
I've never used it.
I have. It gives me crazy dreams.
No, I don't think I have.
I mean, I get those anyway, so it doesn't matter.
But speaking of dreams, your dreams, they can talk to you too. So, like one thing that I learned, like just a little side note, is keep track of like when you first wake up. So we're talking about not looking at our phones until 4. So something that we used to do on these like soul things I used to do with Jade Electra, she would have us do brain dumps in the morning. So that's another good way, because like in the middle of the night as you're sleeping and dreaming, your brain is processing and filtering. It's
consolidating, yeah.
Right. So in the morning, pay attention to what you're thinking right when you wake up, or if there's a song, or if you've dreamt of something, like literally write it down. And give yourself, if you can, they say up to an hour, but a minimum of 20 minutes before looking at your phone and absorbing all this other content from other people.
It is an issue, I think, if you think about how long did we live without consuming anything when we woke up?
Oh, well, for me, for a long time, because I'm
but you know what I mean, like
older, but
I'm just saying in general, for anyone that's over the age 30 at least, the majority of our life we didn't wake up on our phone.
No, they would go to turning on the news, checking the paper,
it's really only something that's true. So there was always, and what's funny? I never watched the news, and I never had used a newspaper.
No. Or how about the radio?
Nope.
Oh no, that was immediate. That was always on in my house.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I can't like do anything without music on.
I'm trying to think. I don't know what the hell I did when I woke up. I think I just laid there. It was just like eating. I think I just got ready to eat. That's all I did.
Sounds about right for you.
Yeah. I didn't start drinking coffee until my late 20s.
Me too.
Well, I didn't drink coffee until Bubba was born. Maybe after. Yeah, till after. Yeah. So,
Just square bear.
Well, I did everything else though before.
Wow.
But yeah.
Now you're graduated to a good old coffee drinker.
There could be worse things.
Yeah, because you don't do anything else.
I lived my life already. That's why.
You don't smoke. You don't drink. He drinks twice a year.
Maybe a little more than that. You drank last night.
Oh yeah, but I don't really count that drinking. I think more of.
How is that not drinking? I drank alcohol.
He had a quarter of a glass of wine. I drank the rest of it.
It's still alcohol consumption at the end of the day.
I guess, but I had way more than you.
Intoxicated.
But he gets intoxicated where he's like hella laughing and taking shots, and he's like walking around my house with his friends and being goofy.
I'm a fun drunk.
That's actually funny.
I'm a fun drunk.
So if you ever get to be invited to those parties, you should come. Good times.
Yeah, no. If you're watching this, you probably won't be invited. I'm joking. That's not true. Maybe, I don't know.
No.
I have a big ass party. Anyways, I think we're getting out in the weeds and we're losing our listeners right now. Maybe
not. Some people actually like us.
Maybe. We'll find out. But so let's I'd say let's we've already been going for a while, maybe like 40 minutes. So we could maybe call it the end of episode 1.
Okay. Fine with me.
Yeah. So thank you for being on.
Thanks
You're
for
going
inviting
to
me.
continue to be on. If you're watching or listening and you have certain topics you want us to cover, preferably fitness and nutrition related, but if it's not, it's okay.
Because such is life.
Yeah, c'est la vie. And so submit those questions, and then we will entertain, hopefully. Anyways, thanks for coming, and
Talk to you soon.
adios.